Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. We are welcoming back Janet Chihocky. She is the founder and CEO over at JANSON Communications and a return guest. Janet, hey, I just want to say it's been way too long. I'm so happy and thrilled to have you back on the show.
I think the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls in the time since we did this.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm really looking forward to really catching up with you and seeing how it's been. I know our topic today, workplace transformation for the 21st century. You have a white paper that just came out. I mean, we got a list of things I want to go through with you. You also, I understand, are going to be working on the Museum of Creative Beauty. So we'll talk about that as well. And their immersive environments. I mean, groundbreaking work here, and really just comes full circle. And for those that don't know what that means, you will soon. But Janet, we will start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we call our Mission Matters Minute. So Janet, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Janet, what mission matters to you?
I love that question. So here at JANSON, our mission matters can be summarized in 3 words: delivering smart solutions. And that is what fuels us. That is what inspires us. That's what sets the bar for us. You just can't deliver. You've got to deliver smart, and you've got to solve.
Yeah. Well, great having you back on, and love bringing mission-based individuals on the show to share, why they do what they do, how they're doing it, really what we can all learn from that so that we can all grow together. And I guess just to get us kicked off here, I don't want to assume we've been very blessed, and, the show's grown over the years, and I don't want to assume that all of our new listeners and viewers have maybe caught some of our previous work together. So maybe just let's go a little bit further back in your career. So how did you get started as really an entrepreneur in the business?
I think we have to actually start with where we are right now. This year, April of this year, JANSON celebrated its 25th anniversary. And I kind of pause on that for a minute because it's quite a staggering achievement. And I give God all the glory and great people that you put yourself around.
It's amazing, by the way. Amazing.
Especially, Adam, that by year 20, more than 60% of women-owned small businesses are no longer in existence. And so now you don't get to 25 and say, we've made it. You get to 25 and say, we got to keep going. So 25 years ago, I had a partner at the time. We started the business, a business partner, Jeff Lawson, and we started and amicably parted ways after a few years. But we started in aerospace, which was the market we really knew, but I always wanted to get to defense. Why? Maybe a lot of the reasons because of that wonderful lapel pin you're wearing, which is the American flag. I think without serving in the military, I wanted to give back. I'm a big believer of what that flag represents. I'm a big believer of national security. I'm a big believer of sacrifice. And I love what the military has stood for. And so thankfully, back in about 2006. And so what we did was, how can you use the full spectrum of communications? You want to amplify stories. What we want to do is we want to have their story drive engagement, right? Whether it be with soldiers downrange, whether it be with their families or their airmen or sailors or whomever, whether it be with Congress, whether it be with the media. And then, oh, by the way, in 2010, we were asked for, at the time, a 4-star command in the military, in which, if anyone knows anything about the military, when you're working at 4-star levels, that's pretty high up.
Yeah.
We were asked, can you brand a building? Brand a building. And I'll never forget saying, well, if you're talking about putting some pictures on the wall, we're not in. Now, mind you, we had never done this before. But I'm like, but if you want to use your building to tell a story, then that's us. And now today, 13 years since then, I would say our workplace transformation, our facilities modernization is our fastest growing swim lane.
Use your building to tell a story. So we're going to go much deeper into that, especially with the white paper and everything else that kind of we have on the agenda. But before we do, I want to stick in those early days a little bit longer, because I know you're humble, and I know, to say the 25 years mark, first off, that's amazing. But the second part of that is to think about the industry, maybe let's say that transition that has been more of a male dominated industry, just military and otherwise. And then, some things have changed, but also as a civilian from the outside and working with, and within that environment, which can, not always be the easiest. And what would you attribute to maybe some of your success in being able to thrive in as a woman-owned business in that environment?
You've got to be driven.
Yeah.
You've got to be driven. You've got to, I think you have to, there's an old saying, know your role and slow your roll. And I couldn't pretend that I had served in the military. And so that I never even thought of using that card. And I also didn't want to kind of flaunt my way to the top. I wanted to earn my way to the top, and I wanted Janson to earn its way to the top. It took us longer because I didn't have the club card. And I mean by that is I didn't have the buddies that I went to West Point with or the Naval Academy. So what I did was I retained a very successful, loving, smart, wise, retired colonel that came out of DOD Army Acquisition. And I'll never forget, I said, Mark, teach me everything I need to learn. And it was several years of working together. It was listening to Mark. It was asking him a lot of questions. It was being patient when I was ready to kind of run. He said, "This, got to keep walking." So I think the most important tribute is your performance. You have to perform and perform on the mission. And if you can perform on the mission and be patient and embrace their mission, national security and support for the warfighters and the various echelons of space, air, and land, and all that they go through, then I think you can do well.
So I was trying to wrap my head around this as I was kind of preparing for this interview. And I was thinking about, like, for let's just say the next group or the next crop of entrepreneurs that may want to service government contracts and work within that space. Like if I'm taking myself back, 25 years ago, some of the online boards and different ways that you could bid and just do other things. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on all of this stuff. I don't know if they existed, but if they didn't, just in general, how would you, if somebody's thinking about going down that path and how to, serve our government as a civilian, working within that space and looking at government contracts, what would be some of the maybe advice you give them on going down that path?
Probably the best thing that happened for Janson is I didn't understand a lot about government contracting. And so I never really wanted to act like that typical government contractor. And there were times where I think contracting officers were like, I really wish she knew more about this. They no longer say that, but I think there was a time when they did. My advice, here's the bottom line. There's tens and tens of thousands of government contractors. There's more acronyms out there than you know what to do with. I wouldn't focus on being a government contractor. I would focus on being a solutions provider. And if the government contracting world happens to open up to you, then get the right people like a Mark Flavin or a Rosemary Floyd. Get the right people around you that understand government contracting and will teach you. Don't act like you know it because it's a complicated world. But once you know it, and like I know it really well now, I can help a client navigate. I can help a government client, navigate to getting to us. But you don't focus on being a government contractor. Focus on being a solutions provider.
Yeah, it's great. Great advice there. So I want to spend a little bit of time here, by the way, because for everybody that's been watching this show for a long time, I love books and I love promoting authors and I love promoting people that have written books and have them out there. So I know your book, so Chapter 11, Facing It, I did too. And by the way, for everybody watching this, we did a deep dive on this book in one of our previous interviews, myself and Janet, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes so that you can reference that full interview and deep dive into the book as you like. But for today, Janet, I want to touch on it and keep it a little high level. But what inspired that book?
The fact that I made it. This is the book. And here's the deal. You don't look at that title and say, God, I'd love to read that, because nobody wants to go through Chapter 11. Nobody does. Yeah. And here's the reality. Chapter 11 just does not have to be on the brink of a financial collapse. Chapter 11 could be my marriage just fall apart. I'm having a trouble with one of my kids or something. It could be a variety of things medically. So it applies to a bunch of different ways. But being a woman of faith, I mean, I trusted God, Christ as my Savior at the age of 14. It doesn't mean I've lived a perfect life. That's the last thing I've done, but I certainly have lived a convicted life. And so after 9/11, months after that, I almost lost the business and we had accumulated all this debt. It's an easy out is to file for Chapter 11, truth be told. Go ahead and file and kind of restart another company. And I never could get peace about the fact that I would leave all these debts out there to people that we owed money to, because what did I know about running a company at like age 30 something? Like hardly anything. And but I will tell you something. When you commit, you have, and I went against the advice of what a lot of financial advisors were telling me to do. They were telling me to file. And I'm like, no, we're not going to file, because I really believe that's what the Lord convicted me, that we're not going to file. It was the hardest season of my life, Adam. But you know what? I learned more as a business owner through that time than perhaps of any moment of success has taught me. And so, manage the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. Be a person that's going to follow through. But I love what, the military's first female 4-star general, Ann Dunwoody, actually very good friend of mine, she endorsed my book. And this is what she said. Her book is a captivating and must read for anyone who believes they were made for more. And I encourage anybody, every single person was made for more. Every single one of us. It's whether or not we allow that to be manifested in our life. And I believe Chapter 11, Facing It, is a book. It's funny. It'll make you cry. It'll make you laugh. It's inspiring. There's a lot of people that played a part in that story, to include my mother, who is now, thank God, still living at 91 years of age. A wonderful angel, basically, stepped in, never met me, never heard of my story, never asked for my business plan, heard about my story and said, I'm going to help her finance her loans. I thought, what does this joker want? I mean, there's bound to be some string attached. And he said, no, God just told me to do it. I had 7 years to pay him back, and we did it in just over 2. So I think it's a great story of inspiration, but there's now another book that's got to come out. So that's what we're kind of crafting, where it's still a little ways out, but we're working on that right now.
That's great. I'll admit it's been a little bit since I've read it, but I remember a couple of things when I did read it, and that was and just the feelings it left me with is, to me, I feel like there's these moments in time where God lets us kind of go through some things and to test our character, to see how we're going to deal with them, especially to see if we're going to be able to handle maybe some of the other good things that He has up and ahead of us. So as I see the growth of Jansen and all the other things that you've done, just obviously playing hindsight being 2020, right? It's like, could you have handled all that additional responsibility and growth and all those other things that like you now have on your plate, had you not had to grow as a business leader, as a person, possibly in faith? I won't speak on that part. I'll speak on my own part and say I've been tested many times like that in my own faith. It had to grow over time. But that being said, it's kind of like you were in the valley for a bit there, and you made your way out, and it was one of those things that, like, as I remember, the feeling of the book was like, it just was an affirmation to myself that God's with us, and that that we're not in this by ourselves, right?
No, and He oftentimes will send the most unlikely resources or the most unlikely people to come along in your journey to help you. And I never would have experienced any and all of that. So it was the hardest season of my life, but you're right. It has made me a stronger person, a better person. Where did
that come from, right? That's what I always ask myself. Where did that come from? Okay, thank you.
Right, exactly. But I will tell you, you don't get to 25 years on your own. You've got to look around. You go look at all the men and women that have helped along the way. And so there really is a success of a lot of people. I'm just blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. I want to let's bring us a little bit present day, because we got some more things to talk about here. So workplace transformation for the 21st century. I know that you have a white paper that's come out recently, and that's a pretty big deal. Maybe give us a little bit of an overview of the white paper and why now.
Well, frankly, I think COVID was the forcing function, right? So I'll never forget being on the phone with some of my guys, and we had already modernized a few facilities at the time, but there was really no forcing function for clients to go, there's no forcing function to say, let's take our industrial concrete, age, war era building and kind of transform it or modernize. You have COVID hit, you got people working from home. People are like, I really like working from home. So now, decision makers are going, we really would love to have the people back because we need them back because productivity is higher and this is better and that's better and collaboration is needed. But people go, I don't want to return to this outdated, unhealthy, not well lit. So here's the bottom line. You can hire anybody to interior decorate your space. That's not what we do. We will take your space, your campus, your facility, whatever we're given. And the most important thing is we want to understand is the nuts and bolts of your mission. Because if you understand in great detail what their mission is and what their mission will be, you then can use industrial design and architecture and engineering and interior design to flow through the entire space, whether it's addressing lighting, energy efficiencies, branded displays and structures, messaging. But our work is so custom, Adam, that's what makes us so different.
And as we kind of started this interview, you talked about the idea, the original concept, right, is having your building tell a story.
Yeah.
And so now when you look at, all these years later, you kind of, and I don't know if the wording's changed. I know some of the fundamentals are, and obviously technology, all the other things change over the years, but this concept that you write about in there, in engagement through narrative, like maybe elaborate a little bit on that, because I feel like it builds on even where you started to where you're at now.
And I think I cite this in the paper, but Gallup did a poll last year that 60% of employees, and again, this was agnostic to any market, right? So it's everybody, 60% were emotionally detached. And so can you use your facility and or environment to help drive attachment? And that's what's important about a modernization effort. We no longer call it facilities branding. We call it workplace transformation or facilities modernization. And I think that the key part is everything that we solution, we have to ask ourselves, is this going to drive engagement? Is this going to drive attachment? Because if people are attached, like, I am not upset that I got to go in now 3 days a week. I don't mind going. But if we can't do that, our clients will tell us, like, the workforce loves it. Like, they're so excited to come back, or they're back and, people are happier. Well, that makes us happy.
And so this idea, just to make sure I understand the concept, to take it a step further. So engagement driving engagement and that attachment, it's making somebody want to come to work. Like, can you maybe, like, for those that I'll give you an example. So when I remember when I just started, out of college, I remember I'd go to, the cubes. We just had these rows of cubes and it was this and that. And I can't say like, that was this amazingly transformed. I can't say that made me want to go to work. Not to pick on anybody that's out there in a cube, by the way. I'm not saying there's anything wrong, but I just mean in general, like, I don't remember being like that. So it's a little hard for me to imagine. Like, help me with this one.
Right. So what you're talking about is kind of traditionally the way we made cube farms is what they had, right? And people felt that way.
That's what it was. I was in a farm.
And I might be here, but I'm still isolated. Well, what if we kind of break those barriers down, open things up a little bit? I mean, so what have a lot of people hailed? They've hailed the way Microsoft made their offices look, or the way Google did theirs look. And while you're probably not going to see a lot of bicycles outside of the doors of DoD facilities, for fun and enjoyment, what you might be able to do is say, how can we take this space, open it up, have more areas that have a relaxation zone, really be a place where a bunch of engineers want to just sit around and really brainstorm, because it's just designed that way. And then ideation areas to whereby let's work on the next generation ship, or the next generation uniform for this, battle gear for the soldier. You put them in spaces that allow that to happen. You take an existing facility that's not been used in 20 years and you say, this building's got great bones, but we want to modernize it so that Congress and key decision makers could come in and we could show the latest in warfighter testing and training. That's what we do. We'll use technology, we'll use lighting, we'll use displays, we'll use AV, we'll use all different types of things, whether it be wayfinding or messaging, but it's how we do it is the sauce. That's, I think, the proprietary sauce.
Amazing. So when we opened this interview, I said that, some things that I believe on, the outside looking in, as long as I've known you, I feel like I see some things that have maybe come full circle. So when we think about this, 25-year journey and still much more to go ahead, but I know you recently mentioned to me that you have this new project, Museum of Creative Beauty. Maybe let's talk a little bit more about that and how that came to be.
So what are they predicting by 2030? Web 3.0 is really going to be the new standard. So our current, Web 2.0 is going to fade out. It's all going to be to Web 3.0. So if you look at the gaming technologies that are young people just gravitate, and probably older people do as well. They just gravitate, right? And we get into these worlds. And if you think about Minecraft and all these games these people like to play, and they're immersed in it forever. Well, imagine. So this project, the Museum for Creative Beauty, I love this project. So Dr. Ken Boa, this guy was once an atheist, became a believer. He is astronomer, theologian. The guy's intelligence is off the charts. I went to his library. Oh my gosh. It's like rows and rows. And he's like, what do you think? I'm like, the sad thing is you've read all this stuff. I mean, I just felt so insignificant, like this guy's brain. And he's a mastermind. But how he looks at nature, and he said, if we can really study nature, we really can see just a glimpse of how our creator created things. And so he was inspired to want to have this museum. So I'm out at a dinner just by happenstance with some friends of mine and Dr. Kimbo. I never met the guy before this. And he's talking about this museum they want to fund. And I'm like, why are you all worried about brick and mortar? Why don't you put this in a 3D photorealistic virtual environment? They're like, we love that idea. I said, then you can reach people all over the world, and it's not location independent. So for a while, JANSON was kind of partnered with outsourced companies to bring that capability, but I knew all along we had to bring it in-house. And so, which is why. So our whole Atlanta office for JANSON is where all of our key designers are, like our industrial designers, our 3D developers. We do have some guys across the pond that work for us, and they all are building. And I was just seeing on Monday, just the building that they've created and how you'll register, you'll come into this space and you'll be able to walk down these microcosm hallways and just get a glimpse of the power of creation. It's crazy. So we're taking this man's content, right? They've given us all, he and this scientist team have given us all this content that would make mine and your head spin. And our teams are then creating it in 3D, and you'll move through. It's going to be self-guided. So you'll register, you'll be able to go through the museum, and then we'll just keep adding more galleries.
And so this environment, I mean, it's going to be, it's like its own world, right? Like
it is.
Somebody goes through,
It's like a virtual accelerator. I mean, it's a campus that anywhere around the world. But I think what is so special about it is like, sometimes, when you work on a project and you're like, this is bigger than us. This is a lot bigger than us. And I love, sometimes some of the guys and I will just go on the phone and we'll just pray about it. And I don't say that to say, look at us, but I just say it to say, it's bigger than you. And that you have to have some divine inspiration because it's at that level. And there's certainly been some military projects that have done the same thing to us, but I believe they're going to try to roll this out the fall of this year. Again, it's the Museum of Creative Beauty, Dr. Kimboa. Amazing, gifted individual.
Wow. And did I hear Atlanta office? I don't know. Is that
Atlanta?
newer, or I can't keep up with you, Janet. Is that newer? I heard Atlanta office.
It is. I was in Atlanta for 2 months last year, helping Stefan, and I got that stood off the ground. And I'm like, all right, we're going to build it and pray that they come. And we're almost at capacity in that office. We have an office right outside of the perimeter. If you're in Atlanta, you're either in the perimeter or outside of the perimeter. And I didn't realize that acronym meant a whole lot, but we're right outside the perimeter there in Atlanta. And it's a great team. We're close to the Savannah College of Art and Design, which was important to us. We wanted to be close to Georgia Tech. And then in Atlanta, you can fly anywhere in the world, almost direct on Delta. So that made sense to us as well.
And I cannot let you off the line with what you dropped a minute ago without digging in a little bit further. You mentioned new book that you're working on. I know you said it's not done already, but what's some of the content? What can you tell me? I mean, I'm not holding you to this, but you can't just squeeze that one in without me expecting me to dig a little.
I think our world is so blessed with, you go onto Amazon or you go to your favorite bookstore and there's just book after book on business and practice. But I'm a simple math kind of person. And I don't claim that after 25 years in business, and before that, I worked at a commercial aerospace company for 10 years. I don't think that makes my slice of pie any better. I just like to give things in snackable ways so that people can go, I can do something with this. So years ago, I came up with the 3 pillars that are necessary for growth, which are strategy, structure, and story. So this book is going to be a business book. And I'm a snacker. Like, I could snack all day. Like, I don't even have to eat a major meal. I could just snack all day. And so I think it's going to be something along the lines of grab a snack and let's talk business. And it really is designed to have I want it to be inspirational. I want to give some nuggets of hopefully helpful information that I've learned over the years or that I've experienced over the years, but it's totally a business book.
Yeah. Julie, I know maybe you're seeing this, you see it later. Let me know when this thing comes out, because I need a copy.
You're going to know well before it comes out.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Janet, first off, it's been great having you back on the show, and great to catch up and see all the growth. And I'm just thrilled. I mean, 25 years, again, congratulations. So blessed. That being said, I mean, what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for JANSON?
It's great to be with you, my friend. It's very impressive, the organization that you and your colleagues have built there at Mission Matters. And I don't just say that. I really do mean it. I love being engaged with other passionate leaders, and you are certainly one of them. What's next? I was telling Julie earlier today, and Julie is our operations director here at JANSON, is you can see the next mountain that needs to be climbed. And to me, it's very inspirational. It's not overwhelming. And I get inspired by that. And so I believe that our work, you cannot settle when you win a Super Bowl. You have to get back up the next season, and you have to say, what do we need to do to ensure that we remain the most sought after? And a lot of organizations put a bunch of narrative, fancy words around them. And to a lot of organizations, it means something, but to some, it's just words. And to us, it has to mean something. So if I say that I want JANSON to be the most sought after, what I see us doing is I see us going deeper in the markets that we're in. I don't like to retreat from the clients that we have. They're wonderful people, and they're probably like our biggest salesmen, because our work speaks for itself. But it's about relationships. So JANSON will continue to be in markets because we thrive on that client relationship. Only because we love being with clients that are mission focused. They are motivated by the mission. If they're not motivated by the mission, we're probably not going to be the best partner for them. I think you're going to see, personally, I believe with our workplace transformation, I believe clients are going to be waiting for JANSON. I believe, just like if you want to wait for the new Cadillac Lyric, you got to wait like 18 months to get your Lyric. And I'm not saying I'm waiting for one, but I think clients are going to be like, we have seen their work. We love it so much. If we have to wait 12 months, 18 months for them to take on our campus or facility, that's what's going to happen, because that's how good our team is. That's how good our work is. On the strategic communications and public affairs side, I think that we're going to continue to hold the steady there. It's our core business. It's where we started. But look at how even AI and other things are, manifesting the way that we communicate. So I think we're going to have to stay on the pinnacle with that. So for example, right now, organizations can buy like a suite, like a Cision software or a Meltwater, and that does their data pulls. Well, we're developing our own dashboard. We want to have our own custom dashboard that will then consolidate all these data pulls and put it into like a gorgeous dashboard like these fancy cars have. So I told the guys, I'm like, listen, if Mercedes can do it, we can do it. So we're working with our guys across the pond. I think we'll be rolling out our custom dashboard later, early fall. And why? Let me tell you real quick why.
Yeah.
If you're not measuring what you're doing, then you're just doing. And you have to measure effectiveness. You have to measure impact. And if you're getting the right impact, but in the wrong audience, then you got to pivot. Or if you're not getting the right impact by doing the same thing over and over again, then you've got to make some changes. and just like we use dashboards on our car. And we use those dashboards to make informed decisions. Oh, I need to do this. My car is telling me to do that. This is what our custom dashboards, because I frankly, we couldn't find one on the market that was good enough. Decided to have our development team build our own, and that's what we're doing.
Oh, I love it. I love the innovation. I love that you keep on pushing, you keep on thinking of new ways to innovate and to serve more clients and to, you know, deliver on your current value proposition and even maybe exceed expectations to your current clients while continuing to figure out how to do more. I mean, that's what keeps me in the game, Janet. I talk to individuals like yourself and I'm like, I can't rest. How can I rest when I get pumped up after a conversation with you? I'm like, what else can we do? What more? What more?
You know, a good preacher said one time, I don't want to die early, I want to die empty. And I'm like, I'm going to borrow that quote. When I go, I want to go empty, having done what I believe that we were put here to do.
It's great. So Janet, if somebody's watching this or listening to this and they want to follow up and they want to learn more and kind of look under the hood over at Janson, what's the best way for them to connect?
Well, we'd love to connect with you at Janson, and you can find us online at jansoncom.com, JANSONCOM.com. That's the best way. And there you can find a link to our support email, and it comes right to us, and it comes right to Julie, who's right beside me. So awesome. I know about it pretty quickly, and we'd love to have people connect. Very much so.
Yeah, and Julie's awesome. So I love working with her as well. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. She's one of a kind. That I can tell you.
So we'll be putting for the audience, we'll be putting all those links and things like that in the show notes. So you can just click on the link, head right on over, check out Janson. We'll put the link, of course, to Janet's book as well in the show notes. So you can pick up a copy of that. Highly recommend it. And speaking to the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters or engaging in an episode, we're all about bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and having them share their mission, the reason behind their mission, really what wakes them up in the morning, like what fires them up to get out there into the marketplace and into the world to make a difference. If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or exciting to you, we welcome you. Hit that subscribe button because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line and we don't want you to miss a thing. Janet, has been so much fun catching up with you. Thanks again for coming on the show and can't wait till the next time we get to do this.
Likewise, my friend. God bless you. Take care.